other
Yeah.
people do it, Michael. Let the other people do it. You are great. You are great. We love you. Cody,
Michael's
take
the
them on to
man.
the next topic. Let me just go make sure my kids got to sleep real quick.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not really a topic. I just thought this picture was hilarious. That like, if you're Steve Wilkes, you're trying to get your job based on one of these three dudes: Baker Mayfield, PJ Walker, and Sam Darnold. It's kind of like pick your poison, you know. Who do we actually trust going forward? All of them have had injuries at one point this year. By the way, Panthers 73 with a $5 says Baker runs too far back before he throws. Um, let me ask you this: all things considered, if you had to pick a quarterback going forward that you trust the most out of everyone on this list, who would it be? Would it be PJ Walker? Would it be Sam Darnold? Or I mean, I'm pretty sure no one's going to pick Baker Mayfield at this point, but Baker Mayfield, like which quarterback has the best chance to win down the road?
I mean, you're asking me if I'd rather throw up or have diarrhea right now. So, I mean, it's just kind of, I mean, but yeah, right now, honestly, it's Darnold's job to lose. He's come back. He's come back from injury. He did nothing in this game to say he should be taken out. All the other guys have shown reasons they should be taken out. They've shown reasons they should be in for a little while too, but he hasn't done that yet. So until he gives me reason to believe he shouldn't be in there, it should be Sam Darnold.
Do you have any fear that Sam reverts back to the means?
Of
Like
course,
the old Sam
yeah,
Darnold
yeah,
shows up? Do you
I do
think
because
it's
history,
likely that it happens?
I don't know, to be truly honest with you, because I don't know in his head what was giving him that. Like, I don't know what it's going to
Sure.
be. We have a better offensive line now. Like CK was saying, I've never seen him behind a good offensive line. Like, maybe if he has time to gel with these receivers and this team,
Right.
get some timing down, and the offensive line continues to be as good as they are, maybe he is a good quarterback. Maybe he won't see those ghosts, but I really don't know. I do. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened, but I'm not expecting it. Let's put it that way. I'm hoping it doesn't, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yep.
Sure.
CK.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but like after seeing a few games of both PJ and of Baker, I made a comment that I stand by, and I said that I never thought that I would want to see Baker Mayfield or sorry Sam Darnold start another game for us, and
Mhm.
here I am hoping that he finishes out the season. Do I think he's going to be the guy? I don't. Listen. I don't know what to expect from him. I really don't. I can sit here all day and tell you that he's going to come in here and blow it up, but nobody's going to really know. And quite honestly, if there's one person you bet on to not do that, is probably Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what's tough. Like we're not gonna look back on games from past and think that Sam Darnold is like the guy because all we've
Right.
ever done is seen him fold. Or
Mhm.
we've only ever seen him fold. However, I do
Well,
think that Greg makes a point though. If you put him behind this offensive line, which is better than it ever has been, don't put too much on this plate. Keep the playbook relatively simple. It's like why couldn't Sam continue to show development? That's what we're
Sure.
hoping for at this point in time, and we're just gonna have to wait and see how it goes. You know, I said
Isn't
before the
there
start.
a
Mhm.
isn't it realistic to say this is that I won't say the criticism was wrong on Sam last year, right? Because he didn't play well in many of instances, but the finality that he was terrible, maybe too much. You know, I mean, like bad team, bad this and that. And I'm not saying that he deserves confidence necessarily,
Sure.
mhm.
where we should be like, oh, well, he could be this, he could this. But people did go to be like, oh, Sam Darnold, fucking worst, worst, worst. Um, and I don't know if he was that bad. I mean, I guess that when you bring up those touchdowns, interception numbers, they are pretty terrible.
I mean,
But I don't know.
I think it's that we're so used to in the last few years of not having a guy that we've been able to back that as soon as somebody shows us that he's not there, we're just done with believing that he's there,
Right.
that he can be that guy because we're just so ready to have a guy come in and work. We haven't
Right.
had that yet.
Do you think we gave more latitude to Baker Mayfield this year or Sam
Yes.
Darnold last year?
Baker Mayfield this year.
I agree.
I think we
Or
for
leeway.
me,
I don't know if latitude's the right word,
well,
but you know what I'm trying to say.
I think the thing with Sam Darnold, the funny thing is he started out okay with the first 3 games. And so everybody was kind of on his side. And then he went like off the rails for the next 2 games. And everybody's like, fuck this guy. He is garbage and he's done. Right. So, I mean, I think he probably got a little more time as the starter because he performed better than Baker did at the beginning of his I guess those first 3 games where we won. But unfortunately, Sam, I think, came in here with no experience of showing any positives as a quarterback, and I think that's the reason that we didn't really give him a long leash, right? If he had come in here with a history of going to the playoffs like Baker was able to at least do 1 year to a franchise that hadn't been and won a franchise in how long, then I think that Baker got a little bit more of a leash because of that, if I had to guess.
This is from Padwan Panther, who just tagged us on Twitter. And he brings up a tier list, and he has Trevor Lawrence and Sam Darnold under guys who can blame their previous head coach for all their problems.
Oh wow!
He
We'll
said
roast
that
you online.
yeah, he
Well
said
done.
he said seems relevant for tonight's show, and it's definitely
does.
relevant. Yeah, and it is relevant, and so much of a quarterback success is the team that they have with him. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Sam Darnold
No,
is a
no, and no.
victim of the team that he's been on, but I'm saying it definitely hasn't hurt when you already have trepidation standing behind that line, going through your progressions, making your reads, and you don't have good protection, and you're not running the ball well. Like that's a perfect scenario for you to never develop. So it's prove it season here in Carolina, and I'm willing to give not Baker, Sam, the benefit of the doubt the rest of the way until he proves otherwise. Just
Can we
like I
talk
did with
about
PJ
this?
Walker.
Can we talk about this offensive line? Well, you know what? I'm not ready to not give up on PJ. Look, here's my thing. I'm not giving up on anyone. I'm just not throwing my support behind anyone either.
Well, I didn't get to
And
ask you. Who would you trust down the road, Tony? If you had your pick of a healthy PJ Walker or a healthy Sam Darnold,
Sam
who are
Darnold.
you starting?
Sam Darnold.
Why?
One, I think, is more in-game experience.
Sure.
Right. So he has played for the Jet. Like, I mean, he's just had more starts, more reps. I don't know if I feel like this is that the same weakness that PJ has is Sam Darnold's weakness, which is just the ridiculous, worst bonehead interception. I mean, they both throw the pick six. They both throw the, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like the dumb. So I don't know if like one outweighs the other. So I don't feel like it's like PJ is necessarily less turnover prone. Like I felt like that's what we were trying to prove with Baker or something before, that he was
Sure.
a more accurate quarterback, and it turned out he wasn't. So I like, if you're like, I'm just saying, what category ultimately does PJ outweigh Sam Darnold in? They both have kind of similar arm talent. They both have.
Yeah.
I would almost say this is that I just want the fact that Sam Darnold is coming in behind a good offensive line in a different situation. Maybe he's got the beard. The real thing with Sam Darnold was he was mentally broke, in my opinion.
Fear the
So,
beard.
if he's not, I just don't have a lot of overall faith in PJ in more than just a couple of moments.
Well, and I don't know why, but in the moments that we've seen him do well, like it's been impressive. Don't get me wrong, but like when we've seen him do bad, like I know you could probably point out a million things, but it's felt like PJ's bad has been more like a problem of him being overly confident, and just it just feels like it's been worse. And I know that sounds stupid because I know you can probably compile an entire list of things that that Baker Mayfield, or I'm sorry, that Sam Darnold has done, and or some of those throws that he's made, and show where that statement doesn't necessarily hold as much water. But just when I recollect the games that I've seen with Sam Darnold and PJ Walker, I feel like Sam Darnold just, I don't know, he has, I don't know, maybe it's just that he throws a prettier ball. I don't know, but the dude, it feels like he's going to be a little more consistent than what PJ is able to offer.
Is it a wrong answer for me to say that I don't necessarily prefer one or the other? Because I said this at the start of the year, our offensive line is now good enough, and we're going to talk about that next. To the point, as a matter of fact, let me just up. Our offensive line right now is the 5th ranked pass protecting offensive line in all the NFL. Our offense
Which, how
is
is that
moving
possible?
people.
Think about this. How is this fucking possible? Number one, in any universe, the Panthers pass protection line being this high just in any universe is kind of wild. Second,
Yeah.
how can it be this good and our quarterbacks can't throw over 200 yards? Like, not
I
a
mean,
single
we're
look. Baker got under a 50% completion rate. PJ, PJ had a 0.0 at 1/2. How can this offensive line be this good and our quarterbacks be this fucking atrocious?
dude, it's insane, man. I
Bizarre.
mean,
We're in a fucking
yeah,
parallel
but I mean
universe.
that. To be honest, that does lend credence to the people who say that we are a quarterback away.
Right.
You mean
You
Matt Rule?
know that. Yeah. Oh, dude,
Yeah,
we're
let's
gonna
bring
talk
him
more
back.
about.
Let's bring him back. Let's bring him
We're
back.
gonna talk more about Matt Rule
Oh
here in
gosh.
a second, but I mean, just looking at what we've been able to do, like we're putting up good numbers, and the fact that we're doing that better than we ever have before, that's why I don't really care too much if it's Sam or PJ
Right.
Walker, because like they're both kind of comparable. You're not going to ask them to do a ton, but they have shown that when that on the clutch third downs, if anything, PJ Walker, well, with more time, has been more clutch during those big third down have to have it passing plays.
You don't
And I
really, you can't really say that. You can only say that based on what you saw of Sam Darnold last year and PJ this year. It's
But
not a
yeah, but even
1-to-1
still,
like we have a 1-to-1 with PJ and Baker this year.
yeah,
We
but
don't
couldn't I
have a
say that I have
1-to-1 with
just as much
Sam.
evidence that I have just as much evidence of PJ doing it and being clutch later on in football games than I do of Sam Darnold doing it?
Yeah.
Like
How do you have that? How can you even say that?
the
What's your
games that
evidence?
the game the Atlanta game this year that we were able, or that
Well,
was
PJ's
very
played
close.
3 games, right? 3 or 4 games. Sam has only played 1.
Yeah, I'm talking about PJ this year versus the majority of what we saw from Sam last year. I don't feel like
That's what
Sam
I'm
was
saying is
way
it's not
better.
apples to apples though. That's a PJ this year versus Sam last year. I don't think that's a entirely apple to apple comparison.
What I'm saying is that to me, PJ Walker, you can make the argument that he has been more clutch in clutch moments than Sam Darnold has ever demonstrated for the Panthers. So again, I don't care too much, man. Like there's so much good and bad film from all these dudes. I'm trusting Steve Wilkes to make the decision that's going to be best for the team moving forward. And if that ends up being Sam, all right, I'm fine with it. But I'm telling you, I'm also okay if it's PJ Walker too.
How about can we just agree it's not Baker?
Yes,
I think we can all agree with that. Yes.
1000%.
Yeah.
And that is, I'm sorry. I'm really, it turns out I don't know anything about football.
What?
I did
What
not
do you
see
mean?
it coming.
No,
That it would be
yeah,
this
I mean,
bad. That's it. That he would just be this bad. I didn't think that Baker was going to come in here and win 10 games.
But to be honest with
He
you,
couldn't win one game, bro. He didn't even win one game. The one game we won with Baker at quarterback was because the defense scored.
based on what we've seen from Baker we had no reason to believe he was not going to come in and be at least a serviceable quarterback.
Sure, I agree.
Because had Deshaun Watson not become available, Baker Mayfield would still be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Believe that.
I'm
They would
hoping
never come
Deshaun
off him
Watson
if they
sucks,
didn't get
bro.
Deshaun Watson. So they didn't get rid of him because he was garbage. They got rid of him because they got a better quarterback.
Right.
Talent-wise. I'm not going to...
They didn't. They refused his trade request. Like, because they couldn't get Deshaun Watson. Like, they thought he could be a guy still. Like, if you...
They wanted an adult, remember? That was the rumor.
Right.
And I think they made that up to try to bring his value down and everything else like that to try to drag him through the mud.
So bullshit.
They wouldn't have said that if they were keeping him.
But they got a fucking sexual offender.
Right.
And
did you hear 10 of the defendant or 10 of his accusers are going to be at the game in Houston with their lawyer, Tony Busby, to show that they're not going away.
Nice. Good for them. Good for them. And I just don't look, I am a proponent of, I don't want to condemn someone before they've been, but just because you haven't been found guilty doesn't mean you are guilty. Right. You aren't guilty. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are people that have been let off the hook who were guilty. So I don't want to hear that argument that is like, well, he wasn't found guilty. That doesn't mean like, anyway, I'm not rooting for Deshaun Watson. And I am sad to say that I was considering the football selling of my soul for him at one point. I'm embarrassed. I'm going to go to confession.
Yeah.
I'm going to confession. But I hope he doesn't do well. That's messed up, maybe.
I feel like most people feel that way. Most
people are messed up, but can we just
the Browns and the fact that they're on that he's a Brown player? When do quarterback decisions ever work out for the Browns?
Right.
You know. Now I will say it's almost like karma on the NFL. If even after all of the terrible stuff that he's reportedly done, okay, we're all hoping that you fail.
What if he like hoists a Super Bowl championship and we got
that's what I'm saying. What if he balls out and now he's like a premier quarterback every time you want to talk to him, it's like you have to mention this naughty no thing that the NFL doesn't want to talk about. So it's almost like if you're the NFL,
every time he scores a touchdown, it'll be like, there he goes, nutting on our face one more time.
It's like you have to expect that the NFL kind of wants the Browns to fail as well, I would think.
I wouldn't think so. All right. Can we just real quickly, I know I drag all this shit out, return to the offensive line stuff. One, I want to be first is we have a left tackle.
Yes.
We have a left tackle.
Yes, we do.
One question we need to maybe ask, and it might be a poll question, it might be something we need to put on a Debate My Take or somewhere else later in the show somewhere, is Icky's season on the verge of eclipsing Rashawn Slater's rookie season? Rashawn Slater was an all-pro, I believe, his rookie season. Not only a Pro Bowler, but an all-pro.
Yes, it was.
Like, is Icky having not only a season in the same vein, but one potentially even better? My question. And I don't know how we can fully calculate that. But we haven't had a left tackle since I started this podcast. So, one, win. Two, this line has statistically performed, as you can see. I guess my question to you guys, and trying to elongate this conversation about the offensive line, is how do we keep this next year when we really need it? Like, what do we got to do? And I think that one name, Bozeman, is important potentially. Brady Christensen had 2 penalties in his last game too. I think one was bogus. But like, what do we need to do to keep this offensive line like this? Do we draft another player? It might not be a bad idea at this point. It's like, while you're good, just fucking keep loading that bitch up.
I think if you're in a position in the draft where there's nobody available that we need more than the best offensive lineman there. Like if there's still a solid offensive lineman on the line and we have no shot of getting a quarterback or a middle linebacker that we want, it's a reach to pick anybody else, then yeah, I say go for it. But at the same time, I feel like with it being solid like it is right now, we can build on it with free agency and developing other players. I mean, we don't have to sign any of these guys, right? They're all under contract.
Bozeman's the only one.
Bozeman.
Okay.
But that makes
not
it
bad.
relatively simple.
Yeah.
Pay Bradley Bozeman.
Yeah,
Listen,
exactly.
not only
Yeah,
are
but
we,
you're one injury away. You're one injury. I almost say this is like when I'm trying to think
you're
about
always
it.
one injury away.
Right. But what I'm saying is, how do you keep a strength a strength? We've never had the offensive line as a strength.
Well, if
So,
you
well, I-
draft
We
a top
finally
tier
got.
offense,
I would not be upset if the Carolina Panthers sign Bradley Bozeman and then maybe allocate a 3rd round pick to a guard or a center, right? Like where you like a high 3rd round pick,
okay.
maybe even a 2nd.
So I have two
I would
things
not
to
be
say on
like
this.
incredibly upset if you go, oh, you're like, oh, we need a linebacker. We need a linebacker. And they go, out of Utah, badass guard. And you're like, you know what? I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Listen, I'm all for allocating resources to your offensive line. We also have to remember Cade Mays is on this team, and a lot of people are very excited for Cade Mays and his ability to be able to fill in at guard and center. Austin Corbett is on a 3-year deal. We've already signed Taylor Moton. You already mentioned how fantastic Kevin Kwanu has been, rivaling that of a Rashawn Slater his first year. Christensen, yes. Does he need to work on the penalties? Absolutely. But again, keep in mind here, his first ever season playing guard full time, and he's a part of this team. Like, yeah, he's ironing out all the kinks and
Is
the
he the weakest
details.
link though?
Probably,
team?
but it's still a pretty damn strong.
People would say
weak
Moten
link.
might be of the
Yeah,
offensive
Moten's
line at
handsome.
this point.
Okay.
I don't think Brady Christensen is a weakness. I just know this, Cody. I've listened to the broadcast and they keep saying this. The last game, they must have said it 40 times in the broadcast. And that is the Carolina Panthers, outside of Bradley Bozeman, are starting the same 4 guys every week since the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And every year that the Carolina Panthers have good or any offensive line has been good, they've stayed healthy. I understand that, right? I mean, think about even Michael Orr and Mike Remmers in 2015. At least they made it to the end. I'm just saying this is that everything is a plan until my boy Kev reminds me, my bastard son, what old Mike Tyson said. Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
And so, like, think about this. You go in, you have a great roster, you're getting better as a team, you do all the things, and then your starting right tackle goes down in training camp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You
And you know
have
who
to
else?
be ready to not destroy a season because you don't have the depth. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, I think you are safer picking offensive line for depth in that case than anything, even if you think you got the guys.
The problem is, Tony, is if you draft offensive line and you don't play them, then they're never going to be that great of a player to replace who they're.
We drafted
replacing
Terrace
an
Marshall
injury,
Jr. We didn't play him.
And he's not a fantastic wide receiver. I mean, case in point.
He's showing
maybe
promise.
what I mean this is maybe you don't think of it like that, Greg. Is think about this as Taylor Moton is showing signs a little bit of potential deterioration.
Yeah.
And you got one more year with them. Is that like maybe they don't play a ton of snaps their rookie year, but that doesn't mean they're not going to contribute as a teammate.
Yeah. And hey, can I just say that
snaps.
Can I just say I still think we might have some more of those answers on our roster? That's right, dude. I don't give up on the tank when I make it. Deontay Brown, that's a name you haven't heard me say in forever. He's still on our practice squad. Has lost up to 50 pounds. He wasn't it was near 370. I believe now he's down to around the 320 mark. So one, congratulations for just losing that much
That's a lot of weight.
weight.
Yeah.
That's an incredible amount. And I still maintain that when you go back and look at his film, he is a very good football player that have been utilized very well to this point of his career. So I do think that we have options on our roster right now, but it's such a weird problem to have that we're talking about how do we keep our offensive line together, not how to it down, tear it apart, and try and get all the bums out of here because they're getting our quarterback killed. It's like an entirely new thing for us, man. But listen, before we go any further, let me take care